Dim light ladies and dimmer dummies. Keep your lamps trimmed and a-burnin'. Change out the tungsten in your incandescent voids. And how many Tull skulls does it take to screw in a light bulb?
None. They screw in the parking lot. It's time to talk Tull to me.
But seriously, get out of the parking lot before we turn the fire hoses on.
You sicken me.
It's a public health crisis. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this, my little neon babies, is Talk Tull to Me.
A dusky tiptoe through the terror trails of prog rock, in which Nighttime Nick and Ombra Omen will shed shadows on each and every Twilight track that red-glowing rock band Jethro Tull has ever tickled our toes with in the depths of the night. Song by song, album by album, we will crack the crepuscular chestnut of Jerry Conway, dive into the darkened depths of David Pegg's opaque pages, and await the matin of Martin Barr's blackness. And if the 20-watt bulbs of our minds can shine through the impenetrable Glaswegian gloom, we may spot a fearsome face poking through the paisley porthole, a Vesuvian visage vomiting vapors through the vespers, a muscly mug mincing through the mangroves, a hideous hedgehog head hugged between the ham curtains, a flutish frontispiece fiending through the fabulous fenestra. Yes, though the adults in our lives will never believe us, it is indeed the simulacrum of the Stygian Scotsman, the caliginous caterwauler, the inscrutable, eviliciously elongated power outrage, Ian Aphotic Anderson.
I like that one. I like that one a lot. Do you know what crepuscular is?
It means having to do with the evening or the dusk.
Yeah, it's also applies to animals that come out in dusk or dawn. So they're not diurnal or nocturnal. They are crepuscular.
They're crepuscular. Sounds like a kind of a teeth.
I had my crepusculars removed.
Yeah, they were impacted.
But I didn't really need them. They're impacted. They're vestigial. It's fine.
They're Vesuvian. They're Vitruvian. Nick, welcome back. I think your braid is just frickin' delightful. It looks amazing.
I've got that guy right there.
Yeah.
And then I'm also rocking pigtails, so.
Yeah, oh yeah, you've got Harley Quinn written all over you.
I do. I told her to stop, but she still does it anyway.
I am excited that we are moving through the nighttime toward the end of Nightcap.
That is right. The night is always darkest before the dawn, and the lights are out. And we are 3 tracks away, including this one. So after today, we'll be mathematically 2 tracks. We are on track number 16 this week off of disc 2 of Nightcap. Omen, what are we talking this week?
We are talking Lights Out.
Lights Out, recorded in 1981. Reminder, Broadsword was in 82, A was in 80. This falls in between the two. This was recorded, like a lot of those that we've heard, in the Maison Rouge studios in Fulham. Who is our personnel this round, Omen?
Well, we do have one Mr. Ian Anderson, one Mr. Martin Lancelot Barr. We have Dave Peggy on the bass guitar, backing vocals if there are any, and Jerry Conway on the drums and percussion. And that's it. Just the quadumvirate.
And something important to note, Ian is credited for keys on this one. Just keep that in mind.
We will definitely keep that in mind. So, with that in mind, let's turn out the lights and have a listen.
Close your eyes, open your ears, tune in, turn on, drop out. No, turn on, tune in, drop out. I think that's what it is. I never remember.
I'm turned on and dropping out.
I don't need a diploma.
It's you, Nick McGill.
Like all the others, this is the first time you've heard this one?
It is.
Nice. First thoughts. What has enlightened you with this song?
Oh. There are 2 things that stick out to me about this.
Okay.
And one is that
I hate it.
No, I like it. It's fun. One is that it seems like Martin Barr has the Knopfler knob turned all the way up to 10.
I'm so glad you caught that. Yes.
I was hard not to.
Yep.
And he may even be playing on a Les Paul, which was what Knopfler played on as well for this, because it has that kind of twangy kind of half between acoustic and electric sound.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The other is that I feel like this is a new song in a very small category of songs about James Duncan Anderson's childhood. Like, I know in theory it could be any child and it could be either of the Anderson children, but for me, and because we've met him, hey James, I just imagine that this was a nightmare that he had, and now it's forever locked in song.
Right. It falls into the category of Batteries Not Included and No Lullaby.
Yes, very much so.
The James File.
The James File. The James Files.
That'll be the next podcast.
You can't handle the James. And even, I'm glad that you brought up No Lullaby.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is almost like a sister song to that.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We even have an overlapping character of the teddy bear.
Yes, exactly, yeah. We can get into it more in the second half, but I think there is some correlation between the two.
Those were my stickouts. What about for you?
At this point, having listened this far into Nightcap and having listened to... This is another one of those remasters that got dropped onto the Broadsword re-release that got pushed back and finally dropped last year. So to me, there is a distinctive sound of the Broadsword bonus tracks at this point. This is that sound, that guitar that we hear in like Calafell.
Yeah.
The Mando that we hear in Inverness Sleeper.
Yes.
You know, they all kind of possess this kind of similar sound that we don't really hear elsewhere. They sound sonically adjacent to Broadsword.
Yes.
But they fit more comfortably on their own album.
Yeah.
Which is disc 2 of Nightcap, really. I mean, ultimately.
I love the synth work in this, the keyboard work.
Very synth heavy, very key heavy. Yeah.
Sometimes when we know that it's Ian playing the synth, sometimes a little part of me is like, oh, I wish it was PJV. Just because I want that slightly more playful side to it, that slightly more like, this is my main instrument and I can play the heck out of it. That Mozart reborn feeling, if you will.
Counterpoint, however. The body of this song is the keyboard, which allows Martin to get all tweedly and stingy. Yes.
And that's what I was getting to, is I love what Ian is doing with the keys in this, because it really, exactly to your point, it provides the melodic and tonal structure from which the rest of the song can leap off. And it's just fun. There's a feeling of fun with this synth.
Yeah. It's not the usual synth that we expect from Ian, where I programmed these 3 arpeggios and then we're just going to hear that the whole time, you know.
Somebody took his funk pills that morning.
Yeah, he got down and got funky, and it's good. It's fun. It's nice. It certainly doesn't feel like... If you didn't tell me that was Ian, I wouldn't think that was Ian. No offense to Ian in terms of the keyboard playing, you know.
It's another side of Ian's musicianship on this polydactycon shape that just seems to have more sides than we can ever count.
This non-Euclidean geometry that is Ian Anderson. We don't often hear such colorful keyboard.
Such soulful keyboard.
Yeah. Funky bass. Peggy's funking it up here.
It's a lot of funk.
Very funky, yeah.
Something in the air during this recording sesh.
Drums, very solid. Jerry knocking the hell out of the drums. Nothing exceptional, but he's doing what he does.
I wrote rocking with the bass, funky enough.
It is just enough funk.
It is within the acceptable funk range, parameters.
David, I would like 1/4 of your usual funk, please. Yes, Ian.
Now everyone clear the room while I get jiggy with it. So you mentioned the drums. Jerry Conway's actually doing something really, really fun, which I'm sure was directed by Ian, but it's effective nonetheless, which is that for most of the song, he's playing dum st dum st dum st dum st dum dum dum. He's on the every eighth note, let's call it. From time to time, the music pulls back, and you kind of get this moment of gentleness. I've seen that silhouette before, something the newsman said, something about some monster in the park. Because a lot of the song is kind of like that, da-da-dum-bum, ba-bum, but then it pulls back, and the drum goes from that dum-dum-dum to dum-dum.
Oh, interesting.
I've seen that silhouette before, something the newsman said.
So it gives the impression that there's more space, that it's slowed down. It's not. It's the same tempo. But they are very clever, the musicians in this track. The musicians of Jethro Tull are creating some space for the listener to really go in and get closer. And Ian is able to get a little bit more intimate with the voice in those moments. And it's super effective.
Yeah, intimate's a good word for it. It really kind of pinpoints in on that moment before it sweeps you back out again.
Yes. Back into the funky fear.
The funky fear of David Pegg, yeah.
There's a great moment of harmony at around 2:15. I think there is harmony in other places as well, but this is where I clocked it. Gosh, I love this line. Are grown-ups brave, or do they just pretend?
Are grown-ups brave, or do they just pretend?
Yeah. Good frickin' question, kid. But Ian harmonizes, I believe it's him harmonizing with himself on that line.
Yeah, it could be Peggy, but it's not too exceptional. You know, it's not too notable. Normally Peggy kind of sweeps it just a little bit.
It sounds to me like a double, like Ian squared.
Yeah.
But I love that choice in saying, here is one of the potential questions of the song, one of the potential theses of the song. And so we're going to underline it with a little bit of harmony.
Yeah. Same thing. I think it's a little, it's not a harmony, but it's an echo on the it's yous. The it's you. It's barely noticeable on the 3 times they use it as the chorus, but at the very end, when the song ends, we get to hear that echo come to completion. And it's really effective. It's nice.
Yeah, it's great. Time signature.
The one time I don't count it. I'm going with 4 without listening and actively counting.
I think you're right.
Okay.
And I started questioning it at some point, but counting it further, I'm pretty certain it's in 4/4. What's interesting though is that there are times when they play with the rhythm, even on the chorus. It's you. You're the man on the TV screen. He starts that in an odd place in the measure so that it feels like, at first I was like, oh my gosh, is that a 5? Is that a measure of 5 or a measure of 3 or something messing up in there?
Yeah.
Something that's playing with the rhythm, but it's just that he's delaying or starting early in terms of where the measure starts. And so it gives that feeling of like, catching your breath. But Martin's solo toward the end is also a good illustration of that, because he starts pretty much on that, starting on the 1 of the measure. But then as it goes, he almost he moves where his phrases begin to a slightly different part. And so it feels like a different territory. It feels strange.
It's a bit amorphous, the way his sound kind of works through the rest of that established rhythm that we have. That's the best part about Martin in this, I think. I mean, I like his tweedles, but we got that minor bridge at it's about 3:20.
Yeah.
Where he kind of steps forward. We get some stings, we get some tweedles until he falls back again. It's not a major bridge. It's nothing crazy. I mean, this is a 5-minute song, but ultimately there's really just a lot of repetition of kind of the same musical phrasing over and over. So there's not a whole lot to it.
Yep.
I do really like the chorus part. It does break it up. Probably could have been 2 minutes shorter and it would have been okay. But it just feels like it is that solid 4/4. It is that solid, this is the same thing over and over and over. It lends a bit of a trudge to it, unfortunately.
Or fortunately.
Or fortunately, there's a trudge.
For those of us who like trudging.
I don't trudge shame, as long as everybody is consenting with the trudges.
You trudge celebrate.
I trudge celebrate. I've got a trudge flag hanging out on my flagpole. I'm a trudge ally, Omen.
So Nick, the post the big solo and post that last verse, we get into a little bit of a strange territory Tull-wise, which is an ending that feels like the last minute of the song feels less structured than what we're used to.
Yeah.
One could almost, if one had maybe been hit on the head one too many times, one might, if you only listen to that section, one might be forgiven for thinking that this was almost like a jam band situation.
It's very jam bandy. Yeah. It's like they don't know how to end it.
It feels a little bit that way until the very, very end.
Yeah. And it's a rather abrupt, it's you, and that's it. We get a closure with just a rounding out of that line. And then we get that quick little button, the repetition, or the echo of the it's you. And that's it.
And that's it. Anything else to say about the music of this particular track?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's a whole lot to really... I mean, we talked about more than I anticipated us talking about. It seems like it's kind of just this is it, and we go.
In conclusion, musically, it is funky, it is fun, it is a little front-loaded in terms of its structure.
Yeah.
The synth brings a lot. Martin is having a good old time. Jerry Conway, Dave Pegg are really providing some strong, robust, funky, like they're providing the funk roux to the dish.
They're the granola in the roux. You don't, because it's gluten-free.
What? So confused. Oh, hey there, Nick.
Omen, hi.
Let me dim the lights here and ask if you have anything for the halfway mark.
I do, actually. I do. I have an email from none other than Folky Phil.
The folkiest of Phils. More folky by the day.
Folky Phil writes in, this is in reference to Commons Brawl, the track that dropped just a scant 2 days ago. Folky Phil writes in with some cultural relevance for us here.
Oh, and the terminology lesson, that is something that I do think baffle Americans typically.
Yeah.
Also, I had not thought about the actual layout of the Houses of Parliament in England in that way, but it totally makes sense. And that middle space it doesn't have a big table in it that has like relics that are supposed to remind you of the past and all, and all the everything that you've been working on. And
I think so. Yeah. Isn't there like a big mace and a club or a staff or something, right?
Yeah, there's an orb and a book or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating.
That's where they put the Starbucks.
That's where they deliver the Starbucks. They have to keep that clear.
Yeah. Just today, I read an article that there was, just like today or yesterday, there was a fight in the Italian parliament, and one of the, whatever they are, senators or whatever, had to be taken to the hospital because of the fight.
Wow. Wow.
Commons Brawl, baby.
Commons Brawl.
Two Common Brawl.
And every time they fight, they play Commons Brawl on the stereo.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it the song that causes the fight? Is it the fight that inspires the song? We don't know anymore.
We'll never know. Yeah. Thank you, Folky Phil. Always appreciate you writing in and appreciate all of our writers-inners. If you have a thought, or even if you reckon something, let us know by emailing us at momes@fecklessmomes.com.
Thank you so much.
Nick, welcome back to the second portion of the podcast.
Here we are, No Lullaby 2, Lights Out.
I mean, yeah. So what is this song about? What does Lights Out mean?
So lights out is what you hear when it's time to turn off your light and you've been up reading for an hour after you were supposed to go to bed.
Yeah, is also a phrase that might be applied to a dormitory type situation, whether that be boarding school, prison, the military.
All of which are kind of the same thing anyway.
All kind of a big slumber party for fun.
That's what I was getting for. Yep, I'm glad you found that in what I was going for.
Yeah.
We support slumber parties.
We
this feckless moms.
So right, it's the signal that you should turn off the lights, stop wasting electricity, and go to sleep.
It's bedtime. Yeah.
It's bedtime. It's bedtime.
Yeah.
Last lights out, they're all abed, and something's in my room.
Last night's out, they're all abed, and something's in my room.
The last lights out makes me think that maybe there have been several lights out called already, and now this is the final warning. You really have to turn off your light.
Yeah. Seriously, turn off your light.
Having the lights on could be for any number of reasons. It could be that you're reading. It could be that you're playing with your toys. It could be that you are terrified of the dark and want to leave that stuff on.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's kind of the closest thing that we're looking at with this song.
Something's in my room, creeping down toward me on the wall.
And something's in my room, creeping down towards me on the wall.
So what I love about this song and the lyrics is that they really convey that childhood terror where on some level, maybe you even know that it's your imagination that's getting away from you, but you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, right. We cannot speak any logic to Rook when he's scared, when he's had a scary thought, when he thinks he hears something,
right?
When anything, we cannot talk logic into that kid. And that is the most frustrating thing about being a parent is you're like, there are no wolves in our house, Rook.
Wow.
There are no wolves. I assure you.
Well, and that process is exactly detailed here.
Yeah.
Daddy said it's just some flickering headlight through the gloom making shapes through trees outside the hall.
Daddy said it's just some flickering headlight through the gloom, making shapes through trees outside the hall.
A very logical argument.
Right, yeah.
Hey, this is what's causing the thing that you're seeing.
Yeah.
But what the hell does he know?
But what the hell does he know?
Yeah, what does he know? I know you don't like scary movies, so I'm assuming you haven't, but have you ever seen The Babadook?
No, although I should. It has a funny history because it was classified as an LGBTQ movie on Netflix, and so
I think I heard that.
The Babadook has become like a queer hero.
That's so funny.
Even though it was never intended that way.
No, that's very funny. It's an Australian horror, and it's very good. It's very, very good.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to give you. But it's little kids seeing scary things. That's exactly what it feels like. The boogeyman,
And this is, again, Ian's writing just really nails this human experience.
Yeah.
What the hell does he know? He doesn't feel the dread, the cold, restricting terror in the dark.
But what the hell does he know? He doesn't feel the dread, the cold, restricting terror in the dark.
That's, I think, what the real experience is. It's even if your mind tells you, yes, this is just the trees, the light coming through the trees, it's the physical feeling that you experience when you start getting scared in the dark is so overwhelming that it's paralyzing.
Right. Especially if you're a 7-year-old,
For instance,
you still got that brain of, I have to be afraid of everything or I will get eaten by a Smilodon. That lizard brain is still there. It doesn't make any sense why it's there, but it's still there.
Yeah. And then because of the terror, because of the emotional and physical sensations of the terror, I think that's where the brain starts justifying it.
Yeah.
In the absence of a Smilodon or a lion or or a boogeyman that you can concretely see,
Yeah.
your brain starts filling it in. I've seen that silhouette before. Something the newsman said. Something about a monster in the park.
I've seen that silhouette before. Something the newsman said. Something about some monster in the park.
Velvet Mondegreen real quick.
Is it a bear? Is he shaking his hair? Is it Velvet Mondegreen?
I always heard I've seen that cigarette before.
I've seen that cigarette before.
It sounds like it a lot. It's not a stretch, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, that is usually the culprit for most nightmares is something that they heard about that day or something that they read about or saw on the television or some friend said on the bus. Is just, it implants back there.
It gets into your head.
Like a little pearl, and it's the worst pearl in the world because you wake up your parents at 3 a.m.
Yes. And you say, my head is an oyster.
No, his head's the oyster. That's the thing.
That's what I mean.
Oh,
The world's your oyster. Your head is an oyster. Your world is inside your head. I could be bounded in a nutshell and count myself king of infinite space were it not for bad dreams.
is that Robin Goodfellow?
It's Hamlet.
Puck? Oh, okay. Thought it was Midsummer.
So the development lyrically of this song really does follow that process. It's, I have to turn out the lights. Now that the lights are out, I'm terrified. I wake up my dad, tell him I'm seeing this thing. He explains it away. It doesn't do anything. Now I have a reason behind it. I'm connecting it to something that I misheard on the news, probably.
Yeah, right.
And then it's you. You are the man from the TV screen. It's you. Front page face of the dead.
Yes, you're the man on the TV screen. It's you, front page face of the dead.
So it goes from amorphous threat, amorphous fear, to very specific.
Right, directing it to the listener in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, which is an interesting choice. Instead of there he is.
Right. Yeah. It's really you had an epiphany.
Well, it's amazing, like what you pointed out, that Ian is shifting the fear. He's centering the fear on the listener. It's you, the listener.
The cause of the fear. Yeah.
Right. It puts us in the position of being a monster in the dark peeping through the windows at a child,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I think there might be something bigger underlying in this. I think it's, yes, on the surface, it's JDA and his teddy bear that in No Lullaby, he used as a weapon.
Yes, brave.
In this, he's not so much. But I mean, I don't know. It feels almost like that it's speaking to a greater fear of an adult.
Ooh.
And you create your own fears. He's looking in the mirror. It's you. You're the reason. There's nothing to worry about. You're the one causing the worry. You're the one who sees this monster in the park. You're
Your
the
own
one
thoughts.
who sees the monster. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fascinating. I love that. Well, and there's something about the lyrics that I find really fascinating. Spatially, he says, locked up in the light of day, at night come out to play, to terrorize me there above my bed.
Locked up in the light of day, at night come out to play, to terrorize me there above my bed.
How could he be above the bed? I mean, that's obviously that's nightmare logic, that this
Yeah.
being has powers that allow it to hover above the bed. But also, if you're laying there in bed and looking up, that's where your field of vision is.
Yeah. But also shadows. You know, the shadows can be on the ceiling and flickering through there.
I had a recurring nightmare when I was a child that, and it's going to sound quite silly, but it was always the top corner of the room would like open up. The wall would kind of like divide in, like the space-time continuum was being ripped. And the monster that I saw was Cookie Monster's evil brother.
I can see where a kid's mind would go with that, and it would be terrifying.
But it was always up. It was always up above me, like in the corner of the room near the ceiling.
It's either that or directly under the bed. Or the closet, I guess, too. It's these weird, like, corners and spots where you can't see directly, where you are the most vulnerable.
Yes, because it has a, "Don't do it, Anakin! I have the high ground!"
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
It's putting you into a bad defensive position, a bad tactical position.
No, but you have the high ground, so you should be fine to defend.
The monster has the high ground if it's over top of you.
Oh, I was thinking under the bed, but yeah. Yeah.
"Don't do it, Anakin! I'm under the bed!"
Don't do it, James Duncan. I'm under the bed.
"Is that a lightsaber under your sheets, or are you just happy to see me? Anakin." The air is still and heavy now. There's thunder in the sky. He's dreaming up some messages he can send.
The air is still and heavy now. There's thunder in the sky. He's dreaming of some message he can send.
Nightmares kind of go in waves.
Yeah.
So this seems like the moment where it's the middle of the night. Our protagonist has woken up from the nightmare and is kind of back on the side of reality, but still feels this lurking evil presence.
Right. Can I physically or mentally get myself out of this where I don't go back into the crest?
The answer is no.
What's the crest is the top. What's the
trough?
The trough.
Like trough of a nave.
Trough of a nave, crest of a wave.
Yep.
Yeah. That first part is he's dreaming. Is the eye?
It's the monster. I think he's dreaming it is the monster is lurking out in the dark, dreaming up what his next move is going to be.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
I'm scared, completely helpless, and I think I'm going to cry. Are grown-ups brave, or do they just pretend?
I'm scared, completely helpless, and I think I'm going to cry. Are grown-ups brave, or do they just pretend?
You articulated it perfectly that I remember when I was a kid waking up from a really, really bad nightmare, knowing that I was awake, knowing that it was a dream, but also being so scared about falling back to sleep because I knew that I felt like I was going to have the nightmare again. And so you feel all you can do is just be there still and conscious and running through the nightmare over and over again.
Yeah, thinking about it, but not experiencing it directly.
Yeah.
But you're still afraid of it happening. Yeah.
It's crazy.
And are grown-ups brave or do they just pretend to me? That's the thing that it's really poignant coming from a kid, but it also really makes me think that this is an adult asking this.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own experience. Everybody has their own thing that they're afraid of. Everybody has their own personal boogeyman. But we don't talk about it in society, things that we're afraid of, things that affect us mentally.
As adults.
As adults, right.
Right.
So that idea of I'm an adult and I do not know what to do. I'm terrified I can't pay my rent this month. I can't pay for my medication. I can't do this. My car broke down. How am I going to do this? There are all of these constant fears that are weighing down on us, but nobody talks about it. So you're saying to yourself, am I still a child? Do adults not have to worry about this?
Right. Am I a real adult?
Am I a real adult here? Yeah.
Or am I just pretending like the best of them?
Yeah. I'll ask my teddy.
I'll ask my teddy. Yeah, and I mean, in that, to me, that line is the crux of the whole song.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Then we continue on. His face is growing clearer. I can see his eyes glow red.
His face is growing clearer. I can see his eyes glow red.
He's adding details to this monster.
He's coming out of the darkness, so we're seeing more of it. We're experiencing more of it as he experiences it.
Yeah. My teddy bear is the only friend I see.
My teddy bear's the only friend I see.
We know, of course, the teddy. I would place this song, I would say that this is the first part of the story, and that then No Lullaby is the second.
Oh, yeah. So this is the prequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is pre-weaponized Teddy.
See, I thought of it as Teddy was not strong enough of a weapon. So mine is a glass half empty, yours is a glass half full. And I like yours better, though.
The shadow's hand slips down the wall and touches Teddy's head.
The shadow's hand slips down the wall and touches Teddy's head.
Oh my God. It's like in the horror movie when the protagonist looks back and their friend is like, just got caught by the thing. And the friend is like, save me or keep going without me.
Right. Yeah.
Teddy's like, be strong. Ah,
Leave me.
leave me. He's now, or worse, he's infected with the darkness. And now is Teddy your friend?
That's right.
Can't trust anyone.
I've always said that.
I now suspect that Shadow will touch me.
I now suspect that shadow will touch me.
And that's where we end it. We've got 2 repetitions of the chorus of the It's You, but we don't get
A resolution.
any resolution. We've lost Teddy. I'm next.
I'm next. End of song.
Scene. Black. Gone.
2-minute Martin Barr guitar solo.
Just noodles. I wouldn't even call it a solo, just noodles.
Going back to the music for a second, it is interesting that solo does feel a little bit more improvised than some of the more structured solos we've heard in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just the feeling of the day or the era or what is it, but
I think a lot of it, I think the length of the song, the repetition, the abrupt ending, and the kind of noodly jam band aspect really tells me that this is not a finished song.
I was going to say the exact same freaking thing. And a lot of, we
Yeah.
have to remember that a lot of the tracks that we're hearing on this album, we're hearing them in an early stage.
Yeah, right.
If this song had gone forward and was going to be put on an album, you damn betcha booty that Ian would have provided some structure to the guitar solo.
Right. Yeah, I think some of these off the cutting room floor tracks are pretty pristine and just need a little audio cleanup and we're good. Not even that. But then again, there are some of these instances like this where it's a bit more on the unfinished side. It's not often that we get them that to my ear feel this like, well, what were we planning to do here? You know?
Yeah.
But it's not rare. I mean, we've heard 1 or 2 that have certainly been like, okay, this definitely needs some reworks.
But what a treat, because it allows us, it's like, as telcheologists, we get to see the pre-finished, we get to see almost the structure of how it is coming together.
Right.
This is quite close to a finished song in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, yeah.
This reminds me of, did you see Stranger Things?
I watched the first 1.5 seasons. I just could not get into it. I wanted to. I felt like I was supposed to.
Yeah, you are supposed to.
I was obliged to.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get into it.
Well, one of the things they do fairly well, especially in the early seasons, are conveying the experience of being afraid of monsters in the dark as a child.
Mm-hmm. So this has a Stranger Thingian vibe to it.
Yeah, it's the right era as well.
And the lyrics are great. The lyrics are downright terrifying. They're legit. Like he does a very good job of encompassing that.
Nick, as a child, when you were one, did you have any go-to unreasonable fears, nightmares, terrors, sleep paralysis demons?
Personal demons.
That you want to share?
I remember I had 2 fever dreams that were reoccurring.
Okay.
One was a lot like you had Cookie Monster coming out of the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Mine was, we had this porcelain, I think it was a lamp or like a bookend or something. And it was Jack and Jill in these like little Dutch outfits, like holding hands.
Ew.
And the dream was they like came through the wall and they were like skipping through the wall up in the ceiling.
Horrifying.
Yeah. The other one was black and red and pink. Those were the only colors. And it was this, I don't even know how this makes any sense. This giant flea. You know how like a close-up, you get a close-up picture of a flea, like attacking the Eiffel Tower.
Wow.
And I remember having that a couple of times because I would get really sick over the winters. Every holiday, I would get really, really sick and have a bad fever. Yeah.
You'd have le flea.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't
really
know
funny.
where it came from. That was before we even lived in Weedsport, so I was younger than 5, but I remember that.
Where did you live?
We lived in Port Byron for a little bit. We were in Vestal when I was born.
How did I not know any of this about you?
Because it was all before I was even 6. Yeah. It was inconsequential.
Well, and those fears are a great illustration of the fact that it doesn't have to make sense to be scary. And partly that's what's so scary about it, is you can't justify it. You can't understand it. No one can dissuade you from having those fears because they are not based in logic. They are based in your medulla oblongata.
Medulla oblongata.
Medulla oblongata.
Yeah, like I was saying before, it bypasses logic.
Yes.
You know, it's something triggers in that lizard brain. Everybody has their own fears. And in a sense, nobody's safe. There's something for everybody.
And when done well, art does the same thing. It bypasses the logic. It goes straight to your experience and no one is safe.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian. Nick McGill, what are we terrified about listening to next week?
We are wrapping up the tail end of Nightcap, and it is a terrifying tale. It is Truck Stop Runner, track number 17.
Truck Stop Runner, and that will be the penultimate.
The penultimate
track that we will cover off of Nightcap.
We just finished the anti-penultimate. This is the penultimate coming up, and then Hardliner will be our ultimate track.
Ultimate, yeah. Until next week, feel free to join our Patreon if you want to get into the conversation. Feel free to buy our merch. Feel free to, for the Teleskull Plus membership level, get a visual recording of us talking with our faces.
That's right.
And finally put a face to the voices.
The video is not only for these episodes, it is uncut video, so you get to see the entire process, sometimes hour and a half, 2 hours of footage. And on top of that, you also get the video of our Feckless episodes as well. I provide that as well. So you get video Feckless, video Talk Tull to Me, and Outtake Tull to Me.
All for $15 a month. That's not an offer, it's a threat. Until next week, something's touching Teddy's head. I'm Omen Thomas Sade.
It's me. I'm the man on the TV screen. I'm Nick McGill.
We're making shapes through the trees outside the hall, the Feckless Momes.
And Daddy said it's just Talk Tull to Me.
What the hell does he know? Hey, Monstrosity, I'm so glad that you agreed to meet me here at the Pillow Fort. Let's talk it out.
Thanks for inviting me, Teddy. I've been waiting for your text for a while.
Yeah, I'm glad we're meeting. It had to be the right time. This is full disclosure. This is under the radar. This is off the record. I'm not here as an official representative of little Jamesy, but I am here in his best interests. And I just want to figure out, I know you've got a job to do, but he has not been sleeping well. So what can we do to work this out?
I can appreciate that. I think if we come to any decisions, we'll have to write up a contract. But yeah, I think that we can bring it to the table to begin with. Yeah.
Listen, it's a quid quo pro situation. It's a quid quo pro situation. And I don't think we need to get lawyers involved here. What it comes down to for my client is essentially he is so scared of you that he pees his pants. And, once or twice, that's all good and fun. I got my fur wet one time. I had to be put in the wash. It's not my favorite thing. I think what I'm looking for is maybe some kind of a structure here. I don't want to go in the direction of a settlement. I want to live cohabitationally.
First of all, you have to understand that for me, the peeing of the pants is success.
Of course.
So perhaps we have to lay out some other levels of success that are okay for you to experience while I meet them.
That's right. Yes, of course. And listen, monster. And let me just say, there have been a number of monsters through here in the past couple of months. You are by far the most professional that we have dealt with. And frankly, I was losing hope that the quality of monstering in the child universe had gone downhill.
That means a lot. My dad was a monster, and my dad's dad was a monster. We've been scared for generations.
Yeah. My mother was a teddy bear, actually. It's crazy.
That's I love seeing it stay in the family.
That's right. It's tradition. So I was wondering if we could do a schedule. Maybe like every other night we do a full scare, and and in between we get a little maybe you could just do some rustling and terrorizing from like 30 meters away.
I have been making a nest in the closet. I think that might work.
That's great. Oh, in the closet? That's fantastic. Oh, I have to tell you this. He'd hate hearing this, but I thought it was so funny. When you were in the closet, I saw you go in there, and then Daddy Human opened the closet door, and I knew that you weren't going to be visible to the adults. Oh, my gosh. I just want to say, it's an art. It's artistry.
Thank you. I put a lot of time and effort into this, and I appreciate being acknowledged for that.
Yeah, of course. Now listen, what's your feeling on nightlights? I know that can be a divisive topic within the monster community. I want to try to be understanding, open, listening.
I appreciate that. I think it ultimately depends on where the nightlight is placed.
Okay.
If I could get a nice corner with some shadow, preferably some curtains that I can make waft in the breeze.
Oh, sure. What are you thinking? I was thinking 15 watt, nothing over. Maybe 10. Keep it nice and dim.
If it's 15 watts, it can't be translucent. We need a little opacity there to dim the light even more.
Yeah, and listen, full disclosure, I want to say when you do your scares that I would characterize at 75% of maximum, the cuddles that I get that night are off the charts. I have to.
It's a win-win.
It really is. I had to write a report back to Teddy Bear Central because I was almost maxed out on cuddles.
You can't get overtime. I understand that. We got to work with the balance here.
It's a salaried position. You get it.
Right. Yeah.
My final question for you, Mr. Monster.
Yes. What is it?
Can I call you Tara?
I mean, I think we've got a working relationship at this point. I would be honored.
I think we can move forward.
Please, Mr. Monster's my dad. You could call me Tara.
Thank you, Tara. There's just one last thing I want to cover, and that's that. I'm so glad we met. I don't think we need to put anything down formally. It's just one little other complication. Sometimes the kid, newfangled stuff. He wants to listen to a podcast to help him go to sleep. It's only once a week.
Okay.
And I was wondering if you wanted to know which podcast it was.
It couldn't hurt to give it a listen so I could know what he's experiencing and maybe work with the timing, make him say strange things.
Sure.
I like that. Yeah, what are we listening to?
Okay, let me check my notes here. It's called, it's called Talk Tull to Me.
Wait a minute. Isn't that a proud member of the Feckless Gnomes Audio Network?
Oh, it sure is, yeah.
Oh, man, that's going to put him to sleep real fast. I gotta work real hard now.
Oh, I lost a frickin' button. Did you see where it went?
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Oh my God. I'm down to 2 eyes. Doesn't make any sense. That one was my nipple.
I'm down to 2 nipples.
I'm down to 2 nipples.